Good day everyone. We welcome you to the massive open online course on cartographic techniques, the practicals. Today we'll be discussing about an introduction to open source software. So the previous classes you would have studied about digital cartography and you would have had some experience about web mapping using Google Earth Pro. Now we are going to jump into software based mapping. So we'll go to the content of this class now. So the content that we are going to see here is digital cartographic software, what it is, and then we will see about what is open source software, why it is required, then a few open source softwares that are used in digital cartography, and then I'll introduce you to something which is called as QGIS, which is the topmost open source software for digital cartography, and then I'll give you a summary of the points that we have discussed today. So quickly jumping into your digital cartography. So when we want to share or when we want to create some text information or when we want to store some text information, we always go with Microsoft Word. So when you want to share a document, you go with Microsoft Word. In a similar way, when you want to share some information, store some information that is related to your geographic data, which is related to your spatial data, and when you want to do some digital mapping, you generally go with a digital cartographic software. So we are going to discuss about these softwares, and before going into the depth of these softwares, I want to introduce you to this term which is called as open source software. Now what is this open source software? So the first thing about open source software is basically your software, the source code of that software. So every software is built using some programming language. So that programs and those code are being given to you openly and freely. So that is what open source software in general means. When that is given to you, you can actually view that code, you can modify that code, and you can also distribute that code to anyone. And the good thing about open source software is there is a huge community that is involved in the development of this software. And when there is a huge community, means there are different researchers, there are different industrialists who are contributing to the development of a open source software. And when it is being done in that way, what happens is your software tends to get updated, your software also tends to get enriched with advanced capabilities when there is a large user community contributing to the development of the open source software. So few examples are your Linux OS, and LibreOffice is an open source alternative for Microsoft Office. Now I will just share a small example with you so that you get some understanding of what this open source software is. So let us say I am developing a small software to convert your speech into text. So when you talk, I just try to convert it automatically to some document or text document, and I am sharing the tool with you. Now when I am sharing the tool with you, I am also sharing the source code of that particular tool. So how I build it, and what is the logic behind it, and how do I modify it. So the overall algorithms, the overall principles that I have used, how I have structured my program, when I give open access to it, you can take that, you can do your own modifications. You can do your own modifications such as trying to adjust to different languages, trying to adjust to different dialects of speech, all these things you can adjust. So this is basically open source software. So this is just the basic idea where the source code of the particular software or product is given to you so that you can modify it and you can share it, you can enhance it. Okay, now why is this open source software required? What is the requirement of it? Why do we need it? So and I will tell you this with the perspective of digital cartographic softwares. So digital cartographic softwares, there are a lot of organizations who are developing softwares for digital cartography, out of which these two organizations ESRI and Hexagon are big players, and they have wonderful softwares that can be to do digital cartography. But then the issue is it is not that cost effective, and the amount of cost involved in buying these softwares is a bit high. So when we have that issue, what we do is we go for open source softwares, and these softwares, like I said, because of the big user community, can perform in a much better way. There are a lot of scientists who are contributing to the development of these softwares, and the software can perform in a much better way, and it can provide advanced operations that are equivalent to your proprietary software. So the major requirement of open source software is building advanced tools, trying to share it. So in terms of digital cartography, lot of GIS tools are being built inside it, customized tools are built inside it, and it is free completely, and this is not possible with proprietary software. So we generally prefer to go with open source software when there is cost or budget constraints. Now what are the open source softwares that are available for digital cartography? Okay, I am going to do some digital cartography work, I do not have the money to go with a proprietary software. So what are the softwares that are available with me? The topmost is QGIS. So it gives you the complete package, it gives you extensive functionalities, and in this lecture and the coming series of lectures we are going to discuss about QGIS only. We will be teaching you how to use QGIS to do some basic mapping operations. And next to QGIS you have GRASS GIS, which is very specifically used for modeling. We are not going to see that in this series of lectures, but you can try to explore that also. And next you have something which is called as Saga GIS, which is also very efficiently used for raster operations. And then you have the Orfeo toolbox, which can be used for satellite data processing. So other than this, there are a lot of other open source softwares also. You can try to search in the internet, you can try to see what softwares are available. There is also something called as GeoDA, which is used for spatial statistics. So the thing is, different operations of your digital cartography, your geospatial technology, there are different open source softwares that are being put up, and the one thing is that QGIS has the capability to bring in a lot of functionalities all together, and we will show you that, and you can work on that and you will get an understanding about it. So with that being said, I will start introducing you to QGIS. So the first and foremost thing is, like I said, it is a free and it is a open source software, which so you can access the source code, how the software is built, and what are the algorithms that are used. You can access it, you can modify it, and you can adjust it, customize it according to your need. And the next thing is that, like I said, there is a very big user community for QGIS, and there are a lot of people who are contributing to the development of this software. And here key thing is here that QGIS, you will have lot of versions actually. I started personally working with QGIS 2.18. Now in this series of lecture we will be using 3.40. So there is lot of consistent improvement in the software, and that is purely because of the wide user community that is using QGIS. And like I said, because of this user community, because of lot of people using QGIS, there are good amount of tutorials in YouTube, you can check that, and also there is good amount of documentation for QGIS in their own website. And the next thing is that I want to tell you that there is a wide range of base maps. I think previous lectures we have discussed about base maps, and there is a wide amount of base maps of Sentinel, of Google, OpenStreetMaps. These maps can be very nicely brought inside QGIS. We will be seeing this today, how we will bring a base map. And then you can do development using Python also inside QGIS with the help of PyQGIS library. Then the next thing is, very interesting thing is, we saw Saga, we saw GRASS GIS, we also saw Orfeo toolbox also. These things are in separate, they are separate softwares, but then the good thing with QGIS is it has built-in capabilities to access the tools from these softwares also. So when we work, I will try to show you the tools from Saga, I will try to show you the tools from GRASS GIS also. So that is the core capability of QGIS, and QGIS is kind of a complete package, and all these softwares will become a part of QGIS. This is a very brief introduction that I have given you to open source software, I have given you to QGIS. And the next thing is, we are going to do some work today. We are going to try to install this software we are going to do some interaction with the software. We are going to see how the interface works. We are going to see how to add a base map. We are going to see how to add a shape file, which is basically a file format for vector data. Then we will see how to, we will understand the hierarchy of this shapefile, and we will also see how to pan around, zoom around, and there are few important tools, which is the selecting tool and the identify tool. We will also see how to use this. So I will just recap this. We will be doing installation of QGIS, then we will just interact with QGIS, we will bring in few base maps, then we will try to add a single shapefile. I will teach you the hierarchy of this shapefile, and then we will go for few panning operations and identify operations in QGIS. So with that said, we will jump into the software installation part. So in terms of the software installation part, first what you have to do is go into your browser and type download QGIS. So when you do download QGIS, you just click and then you get a window like this, and in this you see this skip and go to download, and you will be able to see this long term version for Windows 3.40 LTR, and once you click on that, your download starts. So I have already downloaded it and I have kept it. So this is the process, and one thing that you have to understand in this whole process is this LTR version. So this is what you should always pick. LTR version is the one that you should always pick for your operations. And why LTR version? So LTR is nothing but it is a long term release. Now what happens is, I said there is a big user community, there are a lot of people who are developing, so there is consistent upgradation done to the software and new releases used to come. But there are certain software package, there is a certain version of the software that they fix it and keep it as the long term release. So when we, and this long term release is kind of stable, there are no big amount of bugs in it, it is stable and you can use it without any hiccups. So it is always better to go with the long term release. So like I said, once you download the software, you will be able to see this installer over here, QGIS OSGEO4W. So 3.40 is the version. So you will be able to see this version, and once you just double click on it and once you just follow the required commands, it will automatically go for the installation process. So like I said, I have already installed it and I have kept it. So once you finish the installation, what happens is there is a folder that gets created like this. So you are able to see QGIS 3.40.9. When you double click on that folder, you can see the different softwares that have come up or that have combined with QGIS and come up. I was telling you about GRASS. So you can see GRASS is there, you can see Saga is also there, and then what we are going to work with this in this lecture series is your QGIS. So what you have to do is you have to double click on QGIS desktop 3.40.9 version. So we will just double click on it and you can see that it is going to open. Okay. So the downloading part and the installation part, I think there is some clarity. So one thing you have to remember here is the LTR version, and the installation part is similar to all the other softwares that you generally use. Now going to the interface of this software. So that is a very crucial thing here. You need to understand how to move around the software, how to work with the software. So first thing that you do is you just double click on this new empty project. So I have double clicked on it and you are able to see a window in front of you. There is a white space over here, so you can see this white space over here, okay, and then you have a set of tools that are being put up here. There are few windows over here, correct? You have a toolbox over here. So I will just quickly brief what these things are, okay. and these things that I am briefing you now, you should have an understanding about it throughout your journey with QGIS. So, this is your root, this is your base. If you have the understanding about the interface, then QGIS becomes very easy. So, the first thing that you have to understand is this white space that you are seeing in front of you, this space. Now, this is called as the map space. So, when you bring in some spatial data, this is the space where it gets displayed. So, once we add the information, you will be able to see that. So, this is called as the map space. Now, the next thing that you have to note down is you have something called as the browser panel in the left side. So, I have highlighted it for you, you can see the browser panel. So, when we open a blank document in your Word, we used to try to browse and open a file, or you try to browse and save files, no. In a similar way, you can use this browser panel to go to your respective file. So, you can go and check where your respective file is and you can try to add the information here. So, if it is D drive, you can move around and you can see where your particular data is kept. You can go to that folder and you can add it up here. But in general use case, in my personal use case, I do not mostly use the browser panel. There are other set of options that I will show you, which I personally try to use. So, but this is the browser panel, you can just note it down. This is your browser panel. Now, next to this, you have something which is called as the layer panel. Now, in the browser panel, you go and you search for your spatial data, and next what happens is when you add that spatial data, it is being added as something called as a layer. All your data, whether it is the raster data or the vector data, inside the software, when you add it, it gets added as something called as the layer, and the panel where you manage it, no, the panel where you are managing it, no, that panel is called as the layer panel. So, again when we try to bring the data inside, I will show you that. So, we saw what is the map space, where the spatial data is added and you can visualize it. Then you have the browser panel where you can browse through and get your data, and then you have your layer panel where all the layers in your particular map space can be managed, it can be arranged, it can be altered. And the next thing that I want to tell you is the processing toolbox. So, you can see here you have the processing toolbox. Now, in the processing toolbox, there are n number of tools, but I was telling you about the tools that are related to Saga and Grass. So, you can see Grass here. So, the tools that are available on Grass, it gets displayed within the toolbox of QGIS. So, I was telling you about the accessibility of QGIS for Saga and Grass tools. Saga tools also can be added, so we have to just try to link it up, which we will try to show you maybe in the upcoming lectures. So, this is the processing toolbox where you can go in, type a tool name. So, let us say I want to do contour, I type the tool name contour and the tool name gets displayed here. You can open it and you can do your operations. Okay. Now, so this is the basic idea of this is the basic setup. You have your browser panel, then you have your layer panel, and then you have your processing toolbox. Now, on top of this particular software, you can see a set of tools here, no. So, in your complete journey of QGIS, you won't completely use all the tools, but there are going to be few important tools that I am going to show you now. First thing I want to do is I want to bring in a particular vector data, a shapefile data, which I have already mentioned in the slides, which is India underscore states. So, I am going to try to bring it. So, what you have to do is, so you see this option called layer here, no, this option called layer is there, no, on top. So, that layer you should try to click on it, and then you get this option of add a layer. You get this option of adding a layer. Now, in this add a layer, you go to add vector layer and I click on add vector layer. So, once I click on add vector layer, you can see this window which is asking where you want to source the data, what is the type of data that you want to bring in. You can see these 3 dots in the corner. You see these 3 dots in the corner, you can select it, okay. And once you select it, you can go to your respective folder where you have kept your data. So, you go to data, India states, and I said no, the data that we are bringing in is in the file format of shape file. So, we will give you this data, you can also try working with it. So, as of now there are a lot of supporting files, the files that you are seeing around this .shp, no, these are supporting files and it has a role to make this data spatial. So, that and few processing operations, few ways in which you can kind of use this data nicely. All the files around that .shp, no, those files are actually the supporting files. For us, whenever we are bringing in the data, all we need is the .shp file format. So, we just need this to, we have to select this and bring it inside, but these supporting files will always be traveling with this data. So, like I said, we will select India states.shape, we will open and then we will add it. Okay. Okay, good. So, now you can see what has happened is in the layer panel you can see India states being added. So, you see India states is the name of the layer and that layer is being added over here. And the next thing is you can see some good spatial data that is being displayed in your map space. So, this is your vector data, this is how it looks like. So, and once you bring in this data, we want to move around this data, or we want to try to zoom in or zoom out, all those can be very easily done with your mouse. So, the first thing is you can just try zooming in, you can just try zooming out, and then you can just try to pan around with this data, okay. So, you can see on top you also have few set of navigation tools that have now switched on actually. So, you see this tool which is just you can select it and then when you place it at a particular place, it tries to zoom in into that particular place, and in a similar way you have your zoom out also. So, you can try to click on it and you can see that it is zooming out. And if you want to again go back to your pan option, then you have to see you can see this pan option getting displayed here, see pan the map. So, you can select on it and then you can do your pan and zooming through the mouse also, okay. So, I think you are familiar now with panning. I think you are now familiar with first bringing in some vector data and then you know how to zoom in, which is you are basically scrolling through your mouse wheel and then you are trying to pan this data, okay. Now, I was talking about trying to bring in some base map also. So, for bringing in a base map, you actually need, the first thing is you need some internet, and once you have internet, you can go to this option called as plugins. In plugins, you can click on manage and install plugins, and it will connect to a repository, and in this you have to type in quick map services, and you can install that particular plugin and you can close this window now. Now, you see this option called web on top. So, you see this option which is called as web. In your panel on top you see this option which is called as web. So you click on that option web, and then you can see quick map services coming out of which you have lot of data sets that you can bring in. So OSM is a base map, so it is a standard base map that you can use. So I will teach you how you can bring in a Google satellite imagery. So what I did was I went to quick map services and I selected the search QMS, and when I selected it you can see that a small window has popped out here. Now in that you just type in Google. Now once you type in you kind of see all the basic layers of Google here. So you see you have your satellite hybrid data, then you can also bring in your Google Maps data, the basic maps that you kind of see in your mobile phones. You have Google Maps over here. So whatever base map you want you can try to bring it in. So I will just try to show you the Google satellite hybrid. I will bring the satellite hybrid data and I will display it here. So you have to just click on the add button here. When you click on this add button, so now you can see satellite data from Google being displayed to you over here in your map space. So this complete thing is satellite data that is being displayed to you in the form of it is in the projected form. So I think in your previous classes, initial classes of cartography, you would have studied about the importance of projections and the uses. So now you are seeing how it is being applied over here. You are seeing, so generally the globe, we know that it is in the spheroid shape. Now you can see that for the purpose of mapping we have projected it and we have put it up on the 2D screen for you here. Okay, now let us say I have completely zoomed out somewhere. I do not know where I am, trying to pan, I am trying to zoom, but I am not able to find where my data is. This has happened with me, so that is why I am trying to teach you this to you also. So I am trying to search where it is, how do I find it. So in this case you need not panic, you just have to move to this layer panel. You right click on the layer that you want to zoom to your map space. So you right click it and then you will find this option called as your zoom to layers. You find this option called as zoom to layers. When you click it, it will zoom you back to the exact extent of that particular layer and that gets filled in your map space. So we have now seen how to bring in a base map, and we have also seen how to add a vector data. So this vector data you see here in the layer panel, you see this tick mark. If you switch it off, that data gets switched off. Okay. And if you switch off this Google satellite hybrid layer over here, so this tick mark in the left side, so this tick mark that you are seeing here, if you switch it off, okay, then the different layers gets switched off and switched on accordingly. And one more thing is that you can also try to move around or play around with these layers in this way. See, now I have brought the satellite hybrid on top and the vector data is being put to the bottom. Now what happens here is this layer is masking the vector layer. So whenever you are doing some operations, whenever you are working with the data sets, whenever working with your spatial data, you should understand which layer should be on top and which layer should be on bottom. Based on that, your mapping process, your analysis process, everything will change. So yeah, I will just again bring this back on top. Okay. So I was telling you guys that generally I do not use the browser panel to bring the data. My personal preference is always getting the data inside with the help of the layer tab. So you see this layer tab, you click on this, you can just go to add layer and you can choose what layer you want to add and you can select it, browse through the files and bring it in. if you find the browser panel comfortable, you can go with the browser panel also. So, it is completely up to you. So, it is very easy, user friendly also. Getting used to this panel, getting used to this window is the challenging thing. So, once you get used to it, then you will be able to do good operations. Now, quickly we have just 2 or 3 more operations. I will just quickly show you that also. So, the first thing is, so I think you have seen how to pan, and I think you have explored on how to zoom with these tools also. So this zoom you have seen, so zoom out you have seen, and pan you have seen what is pan. Okay. Now the next thing is, now I have some spatial data here, okay, and I want to inquire about it, or I want to know what it is. Okay. So I have this tool which is called as the identify tool. So this is a very important tool which will always come in handy in your operations. So you see this I on top, which is the identify tool. This is a very basic tool, and I will show you what it does actually. So when I go here and I click on this, okay, there is a identify results window that opens up, okay. And what I can do is, so now I can click on this particular, okay. So I will tell you also the hierarchy of the shapefile. So I will come to that also. Before that, I will just show you the identify tool alone. So the identify tool, I am clicking on the feature, and you can see that I get to see the attributes attached to with this feature. So you see the state name, and you also see what is the code of this state, and also you can see few derived attributes. So few important parameters like where we have clicked exactly, what is the perimeter of that feature, what is the area of that feature, all those derived parameters can also be seen from here. You can also see the number of vertices. So 8397 vertices are there in this. Okay. Now, so before further exploring the identify tool, quickly I will tell you one thing, which is the hierarchy of your shapefile, like how is this shapefile structured. So that I will just quickly tell you. So you have something called as a shapefile, correct. If it is the file format is shapefile vector data, I am bringing it inside QGIS, then it becomes a layer, so such as this India states. So the first topmost hierarchy is the layer, and every layer if you see will contain multiple features inside. So it will contain multiple features inside it. So if you want to see that, so this whole India states, no, this whole India states is a layer, and now I will use this identify tool, okay, and you see every state is a feature for me here. So see, I have Jammu and Kashmir, then see you have Tamil Nadu, then you have Maharashtra, then you have your Bihar. All these states are individual features. So like I said, you have your layer, which is the complete thing, then you have multiple features, and after that you will have multiple vertices. So I will quickly zoom into this particular state, okay. So I will just quickly zoom into any one state. You can go to this option of derived, you can see this option of vertices over here. So you see this option of vertices over here. So there are 5918 vertices. Now what this vertices is, it is basically nothing but the total number of points that have created this polygon. So initial classes we have told you about a series of points with the same starting and ending point giving you the polygon. So the total number of points that has created this polygon is what is your vertices. So I will just quickly display it to you. You need not follow this step, for your understanding I will just quickly display it to you in a nice way. So if you see here, you can see every individual vertex. See these red circles, can you see all these are individual vertices, and between every individual vertex you will see a straight line actually. So, see all these are vertices. So, quickly the hierarchy in which your shapefile and your vector data is being put up is, you have layers which has multiple features, and every feature contains multiple vertices. So, this is the hierarchy of your vector data. This understanding you should always have when you are specifically going to work with your digital cartography, because whenever you do some mapping, whenever you do some operation, it is always going to be working with layers, features and these vertices. When you edit, when you add something, when you edit that particular feature, when you want to draw a feature. So, all these things will come into play in the coming up lectures for you. So, and I hope you understood what this identify tool is doing now. So, I have a feature, I just select it and I can see what the details about that particular feature. So, quickly one more feature that I want to just cover up is your select feature. So, see here, if I want to select a set of features completely together, so this is a select. So, once you select that particular feature, once you click on it, what you can do is, see, I can select a bunch of states together. Okay, I can select a bunch of states together, and then there are few operations such as zoom to select, which you can see over here. See, zoom to selection, can you see? Now, when I zoom to selection, whatever feature I have selected, it will zoom to that particular feature. So, let us say I have selected a single state, okay, and I just want to zoom to that particular state. I can go with zoom to selection. I can go with zoom to selection, and it has zoomed into that particular state. And if you want to do some operation on it, if you want to do some process on it, you can do it. So, these tools that I have shown you today, the identify tool, this zoom to selection tool, the basic zooming tools, the basic panning tools, all these things will come in very handy for you when you are starting to work with the software. So, just quickly we will go and see whether we have covered the required things for this particular lecture. So, we have seen about the download and install of QGIS, then we have seen about exploring the interface of QGIS, we have seen about adding base maps, adding shapefiles, then we have seen about the hierarchy of a shapefile or the vector data, and then we have seen about panning, zooming, selecting and identifying the tools. So, quickly to wind up your lecture, the important things that you have to understand here is what is an open source data. When the source code is given to you, you can use it to modify, you can use it to do your own changes. So, that is your open source data, and the topmost open source software for digital cartography is your QGIS, and then few important operations. So, you have to first understand the interface of QGIS, these few important tools, your panning, your zoom in, your zoom out, your selecting a feature, zooming to the selected feature, identify feature, these things you should know. And then most important thing, how do I bring in some good vector data, how do I add a base map. So, these things you should have an idea. So, I want to thank everyone, thank you for this lecture. We will meet in the upcoming lectures. Thank you.